Next, we want to welcome Bob Pittman. He's the CEO and chairman of iHeartRadio, the #1 audio company in America. Bob was the co-founder and programmer behind All Things MTV, and he's the co-founder and original lead investor in Casa Dragones Tequila.
The good stuff.
I love that was in there. Bob, it's great to see you.
Good seeing you. Thank you, sir.
Speaking about consumer attention, I do think the iconic nature, I want to speak about the audio stuff in a big way, but I do think between iHeart, between playing such a major role in the current state of podcasting, but also being at the forefront of MTV, what's the similarity in what you learned in the mid 80s there in building that dominant force of attention and sitting at one of the seats at the precipice of the current attention graph around audio? Any common themes that can link that can be pattern recognition for the audience?
Sure. I think what you're doing is you're looking at what do people need, what's been overlooked. MTV was really about, you had a generation that had grown up with TV and grown up with music, and the two had never come together, rock music.
Right.
So we put them together, and what we figured out was that we were never going to make music fit the TV form, so we made TV fit the music form. And we made MTV the star, not the pieces of it. We weren't a delivery system like a broadcast network. And what we became was we came in the heart of the culture. And what we figured out is, how do we get people talking about us? How do we become part of the culture? By the way, I did it again at AOL with Steve Case. When we did AOL was, in my day in the 90s, we had 50% of the traffic of the internet in the US went through AOL. And we were AOL Instant Messenger. We were sort of the Facebook and Google combined of that period. And indeed, my last deal was to give Google the search traffic of AOL, which gave them their critical mass. And I think iHeart's been the same thing. I mean, what we spotted was that, and I was interesting listening to your previous guest and talking about radio. I'm not sure he grasped what it is, what radio really is, and what audio and what podcasting is. I mean, it's a consumer idea. Every time I do something, I was at AOL, I said it's convenience in a box. What we're doing is we're making everybody's life easier by using this thing called the internet to save them time. With iHeart, what we're doing is we realize people are desperate for companionship, especially in this world in which we're all taking our phones and staring at them like this on the street. Is we are looking for somebody to keep us company. And by the way, Ryan Seacrest is a great friend to so many people in the morning. They listen to him when they're in the shower. He's entertaining them and talking to them while they're brushing their teeth. They rides to work with them. And that's the way. And by the way, Charlemagne the God, Elvis Duran, Bobby Bones, pick yours. And to me, that's the big idea and why I got so interested in it. And I think radio was sort of lost in, but it's AM, FM. It's not. It's wherever the listeners are with the products and services they expect. We're on smart TVs, smart speakers. We're on 250 other platforms. And to me, podcasting is the equivalent of what Netflix was for TV. It's sort of radio on demand, or things that could have been on the radio. And that's sort of all it is. And it's no surprise, probably, that NPR and iHeart are the two big podcasters by about 2x to the next largest. And we have this sort of flywheel going, that people hear about stuff on the radio, they check it out on podcasting, we cycle them through in and out.
You know what's so crazy about this combo? The written word, pictures, video, and audio communication will be here in perpetuity, in different shapes and formats, in different distributions. And by the way, and we've seen this, the 1940s and 50s, boxing, horse racing, baseball, radio was dominant. Then the video creation came. Then the internet came. It all evolves, and they'll all have their moments, right?
Well, by the way, what's interesting is, if you look at the consumer, radio's never left. It reaches about 92% of Americans.
None of it's left
forever. So all you're talking about is fads and advertising, not with the consumer.
But I will I will say this, Bob. I agree with all that, comma. I do think when the mobile device comes along and creates radio in your pocket, I do think there are subtle moments of distribution. I do think, as when you look at the evolution, the distribution of video with a laptop that I have right now accelerate. I do think things distribute differently.
Well, by the way, we had a transistor radio in the 1960s. You're too young, you weren't there. It
I
looked
was
a
a
lot like
Walkman
this.
guy. I was a Walkman guy.
It was a little thicker. No, the transistor radio was a lot thicker, but it was about that size, and it opened up mobility. And so I think what you find is at the end of the day, look, I've sold people a lot of stuff, and I've created some big brands. I've turned around Six Flags theme park, Century 21 real estate, Casa Dragones tequila. I love doing this, but what always is important is we need word of mouth. We need people talking about us, not showing it. When we say, I want my MTV, people don't come and say, let me show you a picture of MTV. They tell their friend, have you heard about MTV? It's great. They're using words. They're using a conversation. If you want culture, it's 100% about somebody telling you something. I know we've arrived when we're the topic of a dinner table conversation. And if we're not, I haven't arrived. And what I often use advertising for, like I want my MTV, I needed to prime the pump of word of mouth. I got to get people talking about me. What can I do? And that's the holy grail, I think, in making something big. Biggest buyer of what you just said. When you think about distribution, getting that message in the right places, and when you think about the content, the thing that fills that pipe, when you go for that being talked about at the dinner table, in the distribution of the moment and the content that fills it, how do you see the 100% energy of getting that right? Which takes the lead? Is it even Steven? When you personally think about where you're distributing the message and what the message is to get to the dinner table, how do you break down 100%? I'm just genuinely curious. For us, it's easy. There are 1 billion radios in America. What are there, 250 million smartphones? 120 million, 150 million computers. We have a device advantage. Now, not resting on our laurels, we also said, you know what? There are times when people don't have that. You pointed it out. Here it is. So I want to be everywhere, and our strategy is be everywhere our listeners are with the products and services they expect. And so we've done some research. When you talk to young people, we had this, one of these stories you tell again and again. A couple of years ago, we were doing one of these focus groups and talking to young people and talking about radio. And they kept looking like this. And I said, what's going on? You're giving us a weird look. And finally they go, why are you calling it radio? And that's just the device. That's a thing. And I said, what would you call it? They said, well, I call it Z100. Or I call it Elvis Duran. And I guess you're right. And it's sort of that moment, sort of like, aha, freed us from the fact that the consumer is agnostic on devices. By the way, they think this is a radio somehow in here. They don't understand it's using the internet, blah, 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 blah. It's just like turn it on, I can see 100 there and get it on my smart speaker. It's audio to them. Yeah, Alexa, play C100 for me. It works. And so and then when you talk about content, we're the most unusual medium you can think of because our content is actually not linear. It's not story arc. It's not the normal kind. It is companionship. I'm another human being who will keep you company. By the way, how valuable is that? Very valuable. By the way, during COVID, we saw it was even more important. By the way, come after a tornado, after a hurricane, everybody's on the radio, and we're not doing music programming. We're telling people where to get blankets. In Houston, when there was flooding, we were on the air and people were calling us on the phone, telling us where they were, and we were telling people with boats how to get to them to rescue them. Bob, I have a huge question. I apologize. I have a huge question because we have 1 minute. Sure. The only thing I've been thinking these whole 9 minutes, even though you've been dropping fundamental gems on content and distribution and attention graph, is how the fuck does this guy not have his own radio show? His voice was fucking built for fucking podcasting. Bob, by the way, your voice, you are literally the voice. Listen to Math and Magic, Stories from the Frontiers of Marketing. I do my own podcast. It's about marketing. You will love it. And you've now agreed, you don't know it, to come on and be a guest. It's done, brother. It's great to see you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Bob.
Andrea, real quick, I know you need to read the thing, but like Bob's voice is insane.
I know, isn't it crazy?
I was like listening. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a tremendous voice.
It's so funny. That's what all the comments are saying too.
I love it.
They want you, Bob.
I love it. I was a DJ as a teenager, so
clearly,
there you go.
Sounds like it. Go ahead, Andrea.